Hello everybody and welcome to the latest episode of the podcast. And on this episode of the podcast I'm speaking to Shaun. Shaun is a plasterer from Nuneaton and he has not always been a plasterer. He did 8 years in the military and he speaks about his experience in the military and bringing everything he learned from the military into his civilian life and into the construction industry. Now he did start as a plasterer and then went into the army and then came back to it after a short break. But we speak very openly and honestly about mental health and how it affects him and what he has to do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to keep himself in good shape. He doesn't always get it right every single week, but that's okay. He puts his boundaries in and he resets and he goes again. Thank you again for watching this episode, and if you like it, let us know in the comments below. And if you feel like anybody could resonate with this episode, please share it with them. Other than that, thank you very much and enjoy the episode. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the NYH podcast. And we're back in the studio. We're back down at the guys at A&E have let us come and use their studio again, so thank you very much for that. But on this episode I'm talking to Shaun. Now Shaun is a plasterer, is that right?
By trade, yeah.
Yeah, plasterer by trade. And he's come on to have a chat about what he's been up to in his previous life, because you've not always been a plasterer really, have you?
No, it's been a very weird twist, shall we say. Yeah.
Well, you can start wherever you want. You can start from leaving school, or you can start from 15 minutes ago if you want to.
Yeah, sure.
It's entirely up to you. Just tell us about you.
Yeah, sure. So, plaster by trade. I started plastering when I was actually in school. So,
Okay.
I must have been roughly about 14, 15. And my cousin was a plasterer in Nuneaton. He had his own business, did his own thing. And it was very weird, to be fair. So, my partner at the time, her mum actually asked for a plasterer to come and sort out a kitchen ceiling. And I came in from school and I seen him. We haven't seen each other for about 10, 15 years at a time. I was young. He only seen us as a child, like literally, newborn baby. And I said to him, I was like, I know you from somewhere, don't I? And he was like, are you Shaun? I was like, yeah. Are you Simon? And anyway, we were having this, flow, and I was like, I think you're my cousin. I'm pretty sure you're, my aunt's son. And he was like, yeah, that's my mum and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. He asked me, what you doing now? And we would literally just in the transition to do all of our GCSEs and stuff. So. Yeah. I was having sort of weeks off school, doing some training, learning and all that sort of revision. And I just said to him, I was like, I'm not doing a lot. I've got like an apprenticeship lined up to go and work at a golf course, doing like grass cutting and maintenance and that sort of thing, because I love being outside. I love doing things with my hands rather than sitting there behind a desk. And he basically said to me, I was like, okay, do you want a job? I was like, okay, where do we go? Anyway, I started working on the weekends, doing little bits here and there with him, and then I eventually said to him, like, I really want to get on the trowel. Can you teach me how to do it? Because I don't know what I'm doing. I'll just mix up and clean out. And he said to me, yeah, I tell you what, go and do this wall on your own. Let me know how you get on. I'm not going to bother you. And I thought, Christ, if I mess this up, it's a bit of it's going to be a bad ending. And obviously, working with families sometimes is quite hard anyway. Yeah. But I was quite young, very sort of naive. I just wanted, something beyond me at the time. I didn't really know what plastering was. Yeah. So, did this wall, absolutely fine. And he said to me, "Okay, cool." He was like, "Well, bump your salary up and stuff." So, at the age of 16, 17, I was on £100 a day, which is a hell of a lot. So obviously I was the first one to, pass my driving test as soon as I turned 17, got a car, put money every single, everywhere besides in my bank. I never ever kept it. When you get us that envelope of cash at the end of the week, I was like, that's gone. Paid my taxes and all that sort of stuff. And then I went self-employed. And we sort of carried this on for a while. I worked with a few different plasterers in Hinckley, Coventry, Leicester. They all have their own different ways of working, which is really nice. It's really good to see people's variations on plastering. When I turned 17, I found out I was going to be a dad. So yeah, that was a big shock. So I came in from work, and my partner, who's my ex-partner now, basically said, I'm pregnant. And I was like, Christ, and I was stunned. I didn't know what to do. So probably not the best thing to do, but I walked out of the house and went on a long walk for 3 or 4 hours. I was like, I've got to sort my life out because we're living at her mum's. Things aren't great. Money's good, but I didn't know how to use it. I never got taught how to use money at all. I was always taught, if you've got it, just get rid of it, use it, do what you need, buy what you need and want, rather than just what you need. Turned 17 and a half and decided to, at the time I was putting like an application into the army, and the whole reason was one of my friends, he was in the infantry, and I thought, Christ, this sounds like a good gig. You get to shoot guns and you get paid for it. And I never really thought much of it. I was more or less on the verge of joining, thinking, maybe I'll give it a go. You haven't got to stick it out. It's 14 weeks of basic training. You got to see where you go. So I originally was going to join the infantry straight from leaving school. So I was still doing plastering and stuff on the side, taking random days off, weekends, all that sort of stuff. Turned 18. I was working at the time for another plasterer because my cousin ran out of work, and I just thought, I need to do something. This isn't, I need to go and explore something and do something. I'm going to be a dad in less than 6-7 months. I was like, I need to get somewhere. And anyway, I decided at that time, just about 7, between 17 and a half and 18, I thought, I'm going to join. I got a phone call and they were like, right, we've got an enlistment date. And the enlistment date was November the 11th, 2013. Right. 2011 it was. Right. 2011, the 11th of November. And I thought, Christ, that's going to come out quick. It was getting towards, Christmas and stuff. I was like, how is that all going to work? How am I going to be home for my family? And they said, well, it could be that you stay on camps. It could be that you go home. The decision's down to them. But I enlisted, decided, I'll give it a go. And I stuck it out. 14 weeks of training, I lost a ton of weight. I didn't eat, didn't sleep properly, but in my mind, I think I didn't. I did. The process of them turning you from a civilian who has no experience with, handling dangerous weapons. I've seen guns in movies, and I've fired airsoft, and all that sort of stuff. But I've never fired a real gun. And it was an experience. I can remember the first time doing it, and I thought to myself, like, as soon as you sort of pull that trigger, you don't actually realise that it's a real gun. It just feels like a toy. It's not till you until you have to use it, and you're like, it's pretty serious now. I decided to stick it out. We stayed there. I got posted down south, down to Dorset, and every other weekend I was coming back home. And obviously things weren't working out at home anyway. It's hard enough having, a newborn and trying to get home, but I knew that at the time the money that I was trying to get to support all of us just wasn't consistent, and that was a big issue for both of us, is consistency. I wanted to make sure that there's money for her, money for the my daughter and stuff, and just to get things steady. Didn't work out. Things change, people change, emotions change, and there was a lot of resentment for me leaving to try and put a career in front of me to say, this is what I think is going to be good. It worked out in the end. Stuck it out for the best part of 7.5, 8 years. I was always able to provide for them, even though we're not together, and we move forward. But that was my initial path, shall we say. So.
And then you came out the military and went straight back into plastering.
So during my time whilst I was in the army, I was still coming out at weekends and doing the odd bit of plastering here and there. There was something in my head that just couldn't stop doing something. I spent time with my family and stuff on the Saturday or the Sunday, but then every other weekend when I came home, I was like, I need to go and do something. So I'd be plastering or go and work for someone and doing something else. But when I actually left the army, I decided that the because I worked with intelligence and IT and all that sort of thing, I decided to give that a go. So a bit of a desk jockey sort of job, and obviously, see how it goes. I was coming out at the time, and I was like, the construction industry was completely changed over the last 10 years. I've not touched anything. I've not been on sites. Everything to me was sort of different, and it was a lot harder to get back into it. So I thought, I need something that's going to be steady. I worked in IT, worked in cybersecurity for a bit with National Grid, did contracting and stuff in IT, but every single week I'd take time off to go and skim.
Yeah.
And people were starting to pick up on that. My ex-partner, she was saying to me, Jesus Christ, look, you're never home.
Yeah.
Like, you're working for the day, you're going off to do private jobs in the afternoon. I was like, I need to go and keep busy, or I need to do something. But yeah, and then eventually it got to a point where, not last year, the year before, I thought I can do plastering. I'm good at what I do, and I need to take this to the next step. So I was taking a walk around a lake, just having a little think about what I need to do. Where am I? Because I felt working in IT and stuff, I felt like I was missing a purpose to do something good, to do something I enjoy. It was good money, but the enjoyment just wasn't there. Sometimes it was there, sometimes it wasn't. I try and get on, if there was like an emergency at work or like servers breaking down, stuff like that. I was like the first one to jump on it. I was like, I want it, give me it. I want to have a challenge. But yeah, and then I decided to set up Osmium Property Services, and I thought we're going to start off small. Nothing too big, nothing too strenuous. We're going to do a few plastering bits, stud walls, renovations, and eventually it evolved to doing complete extensions and getting the right people in to do the jobs. And I was to project manage it, and obviously my organisation skills aren't too bad, to be fair, considering my admin's all on up to ball, and we just went from there. It's just evolved.
You transferred a lot of the skills that you got taught in the military into this.
A hell of a lot. It's all down to detail. That micrometer detail, and you get towards the end of your working day and you think, I can't really be bothered to do this. The last little bit of prep for tomorrow. Whereas I'll say to the guys who work for us, if you've got 30 minutes spare, get your stuff ready for tomorrow. Because then you're not going to be playing around in the morning trying to figure out what you need to do and what you need to get. If you need materials in that 30 minutes, tell me, we'll get something. The organisation, the attention to detail has always sort of been there ever since I've left. It's the way that obviously they break you down to a point where you physically can't. You're thinking for yourself, but you're also acting as sort of like a robot as such. I know it's a really weird concept to understand sometimes, and I think if people haven't been in that situation themselves, they struggle to understand how you can go from being a normal person to being around your family every day and doing a normal job, doing a simple 9 to 5 or 8 to 4, whatever, going to a high pressure environment where you're constantly sat there thinking, when's the next time I'm going out, when's the next time we're getting called up. And it probably didn't help working for a squadron that was on rapid deployment, so we'd leave the UK within 7 or 8 hours notice, and that hurt because obviously if you're on that list to go, that's it, you don't have a choice. It's pretty hard.
So you speak about like you feel like you can't sit down and you can't just rest and relax. Have you always been like that, or is that just something that has come through the military?
Before I joined, I was able to sit there on my laptop and just relax. I was fine. I wouldn't have like shakes or jitters. I mean, I'm not. There's no medical condition that I've got, but I just can't sit still. There's always something that I'm thinking, and even this morning, walking into here and stuff, I was thinking of new ideas, and you'll hear me ask questions about random things, and you'll be like, "What was he asking that?" But the mind just never switches off, and it's the same with work, and it's difficult to have a decent work-life balance when you've been trained. You've been rescheduled to think. You can never switch off, basically. But I can't sit still.
How does that affect you, though? Does it become tiring?
Yeah, it does. It affects every single thing you can think of: family, friends, loved ones, work. Sometimes, because in the evenings I'm sat there and I'm still working, even though I shouldn't be. And I wake up in the morning, I'm tired. I'm like, God's sake, why did I stay up doing that? I didn't need to do that. But yeah, it has a detrimental effect on your mental health more than anything. So I've suffered with PTSD as well. I've suffered with anxiety. I've had depression, and I think one of the main things about leaving the army was being able to cope and not having this, this heavy burden of I need to be okay for my daughter, I need to be okay for my family. The pressure can get a bit too much, and you'll hear people say, "Oh, the army's for single people," and it is, but it's not. Yeah. It's for people that are on their own, who have family and stuff, but trying to have a family outside of army barracks who have a normal life compared to you that is stuck to this regimented thing is probably one of the most hardest things to ever overcome ever. It just doesn't work, which is a shame. A lot of people will just call it a day with the partners and just say, I'm staying here because it's safe, they know what they're doing, it's comfortable.
Almost institutionalised, aren't you, really?
Basically, it's like North Korea, if you like.
But as much as you're comfortable talking about, does the PTSD come through things that happened in the military, or was that from previous, before you went in there, and anxiety and things like that?
Yeah, so the anxiety part was more or less on our sort of verge of our notice to move out of the UK, constantly being on edge. Just to give an example, there was one night I went to my partner's birthday meal with a family. We had friends there. I was having a few drinks, and I was not on the roster to go away that week because I said to them, look, I've got my partner's birthday. I'm going to take some leave. I need some time off. I need a break. And they decided to give us a call whilst I was at the meal and said, Shaun, you've got 4 hours to get back to camp. You're going back out. I was like, right, okay. I'm not on the list. And they're like, we don't care, you're going. And ever since then, it's the anxiety part's always there. Whenever my phone rings, even if it's customers, I know it's not the army. I know it's not them. But as soon as it rings, that's it. I'm straight. I'm turned. I'm straight on it. Trying to relax, it doesn't happen. Even over Christmas, I tried switching off completely from work. I turned my work phone off at one point. Day one, didn't go on it. Day two, opened it back up, started working again. I couldn't stop because I felt like I was missing something every time. It's like that fear of missing out, even though there's nothing to miss out. We got work booked in, the lads are fine, every single job's fine, there's no issues. We closed everything down before Christmas. But the PTSD side was, obviously when we used to go away and stuff, it was hard to have an understanding of how other people live outside of the UK. Now, it sounds really weird. When you go abroad and you see people living in like tin huts, or, you see people live different cultures, different lives, it's interesting. It's something different. You haven't seen that before. But, when shit hits the fan, it's a completely different ball game.
Yeah, I spoke to a guy called Pete, one of the very, very early podcasts we did, and he runs a page called Show Me a War Face, and he served in Bosnia, and he was part of the engineers, so he'd go in after the battle, and he was basically picking up the pieces, and he said very similar things, that you're conditioned not to take that stuff in while you're there, but when you're laid in your bunk at night and you've been picking whatever's left up of people and trying to sort things out and build an infrastructure for them to move back into. He says it weighed heavy on it, still weighs heavy on him now. Yeah. And he's been out about 14 years, I think.
Yeah, it's never easy to comprehend how you should act. And it's, you live your day-to-day lives. Everyone lives differently, and you all have your same thing, but there's always a structure. But when you're in a situation that puts you out your comfort zone, but you've been conditioned to understand it and to comprehend that it's not the end of the world, just get on with it. Yeah. When you pull yourself back, there is no going back. Yeah. You have to go forwards. And a lot of people, they say, oh, I'm leaving the army, I'm going to switch off, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I mean, one of the biggest issues that I faced when I left was down to like fitness. You know, I was at the peak of my fitness that I've ever been in my entire life, and I'll never get back to that stage unless I re-enlisted. But as soon as I left, and the same as a lot of my friends and stuff who have left, and they said the same thing. I didn't run for weeks, months, years. But then the minute you pick up your trainers, you get back out the door, it's like you're sort of transitioning back, if you like. Your mind's thinking, where are we going, Shaun? What are we doing now?
It's like muscle memory.
Yeah. You know, you can't run as far as you used to or as quick as you used to. And, you know, you start getting these weird pains up in your knees and you think, this ain't right. But in your mind, you're thinking, I'm getting ready for something. But there's nothing to get ready for. But yeah, trying to cope and to deal with the different stages of, you know, personal issues whilst you're in the army and stuff. The support mechanism there isn't great. You know, I told numerous people in, you know, my chain of command that I was having problems. Something isn't right. I said to them, I'm struggling. I can't sit still. I can't sleep. And their answer to it was tablets straight away. And I thought, I don't want to be on tablets. I want to try and figure out what this issue is. And they never really helped. You know, the one time we had a therapist meeting and stuff, you know, she said to me, it was a bit weird. She was almost trying to tell me how to feel rather than ask me how I felt, which really put us in a bit of a dark place and a difficult situation, because I thought, you know, I don't think like this. Is it normal? And at the time I was like, this isn't normal. You know, I need to go and get a second opinion. So I left all of, you know, my army things back in the past, jumped out of the barracks, went to go to a private therapist, and I said to them, I was like, you know, this is what's happening. And she immediately said, look, you need to speak to someone, book us in tomorrow, get it off work. Went to go tell obviously everyone that needed to know that I had to nip out of work for the day. It was quite hard to even get out to go and speak to someone. You know, they're like, oh, you know, it's not a military doctor or anything like that you shouldn't really go and speak to them. And I was like, well, you know, they're doing nothing for me. I'm struggling. I'm telling you I'm struggling, but I feel like I'm shouting and screaming in your face, but nothing's changing. You know, and even then they were saying, yeah, you know, get your kit ready to go because you might be going out next week. And it's like, how do I comprehend that? You know, I'm sat there worrying about my family, worrying about, you know, how I'm going to be. And if I'm affected by my issues and the problems I'm having, what effect is that going to have on the lads in the squadron as well? You know, in the troop, we're not going to sit there and act like everything's fine. There's going to be a point I'm going to snap. And, you know, not that I'll hurt people or anything like that, but, you know, running away from a situation or not facing a situation head on would have such a detrimental effect on them that could potentially cost their lives. You know, it's just not worth it.
Absolutely, because you got to be 100% of your game, haven't you, when you're out there in these situations. And I think that's why there's a big crossover between construction and the military, because you are part of a team. You've got to be you've got to be part of your team. And when you're working out on site, although it's not a war zone and there's no threat on your life, you're still around heavy equipment or heights or things like that, and you've got to be on top of your game so you're safe and everybody else is safe around you. And if your mind's wandering from not being focused on the task that you've got in hand, your mind's over here thinking about what's going on in the past or what's chewing away at you inside, that's when accidents happen.
Exactly. We've had it a couple of times where, you know, I've around Remembrance Day and stuff like that, I completely become a different person. Remembrance Day, anywhere around Remembrance Day, you know, I don't tend to talk to people. And, you know, around March the 15th is when I say I change. I go quite quiet. There's things that happened on March the 15th that I don't really talk to many people about. A few people know, a few people don't. You know, I lost a friend of mine who basically hung himself in one of the hangars. So yeah, we never, trying to work in construction, run a business, run the lads, and to keep them safe as well as keep them busy is a hard, it's quite a hard balance, I think, sometimes.
Do you feel the weight of responsibility?
Yeah, Yeah, but not just from a health and safety perspective, even financially. You know, I know that if I don't do what I need to do 100% and we can't get the work in, and, you know, I take time off work or anything like that, I feel guilty for not giving them everything that they need in order to provide for their families. You know, and even on, you know, a safety aspect, if I'm not 100% and something happens to them, I could never forgive myself for it. And that's why every single day I'll rock up, do what I need to do. If there's a risk assessment that needs doing, I'll do it. I won't sit there and say, I'll do it in a bit, I'll do this in a bit. If I see a trailing cable and I know that the lads are running in with steels or something, that'll be gone. Which is obviously, you know, it's a benefit to us, because that condition that I'm in is you know, it's like an alpha performance. You know, some people walk past stuff, but I always say, you know, the standard that you walk by is the standard that you accept. And if that's the standard you accept, it's not good enough. You know, so I try and apply some things from the army into that aspect, but the management and the responsibilities, you do feel it every single day.
So going on to the construction side of things, have you noticed there's a big change in the way people are treated in the industry for speaking up openly and honestly about the way they're feeling sometimes?
Truthfully, no one does.
A
lot of people don't. I do, and I'm proud to do it. You know, I'm not singing around and shouting out, you know, I've got mental health issues or anything like that. But the lads know that, you know, of my past, we explain that, you know, if I go quiet for a day, don't think anything of it. Just relax. It's fine. You know, and a lot of lads do suffer. We had a lad recently working for us. Obviously can't say too much, but he was having a few issues, and, you know, I felt really sorry for the guy. And I said to him, my van door's open, you know, come grab us, we'll go for a coffee, we'll go and do what we need to do. You know, just talk to me, it's fine. But it was probably about 2 months ago, he ended up breaking up with his partner and moving back up north, which I didn't expect. You know, he quit his job. I said to him, I was like, you know, if you need anything, just give us a shout straight away. Even after that, even after he left us in, I wouldn't say he left us in a difficult situation, but he left us in a situation where one of the lads didn't have a labourer, and for us it's like, you know, we don't do lone working as much as we can. Even if we're working on domestic, you know, if you're cutting with a saw, or, you know, if you're doing tiling and you slip and, I don't know, you bang your head, for instance. You know, it's a reality that is so real, that, you know, we try and make sure it doesn't happen. But even after that, I said to him, you know, if you ever need anything, I'm here. Just come and shout me. But I do know a lot of people that are ex-military that hide how they feel, and I don't think, you know, that's a fair way to manage it at all. You know, it's like yourselves. It's great to see people who actually care about that side of things, because we always talk about our business. You know, you can go and speak to a builder. The first thing they'll say, how's business? Not how are you? Oh, how's work going, mate? Have you got work lined up or something? And it's like, well, yeah, I've got a lot of work lined up, but my head's a mess. You know, but, you know, your perspective of life and your company, everything to do with it all starts with you. And if you're not right, if there's no, you know, if there's issues and you've got no routine, you haven't got, you know, any of the drive or anything like that, your business suffers, and then you suffer, because your business is already in the laps. It's like, you know, it's definitely like a round robin. You know, it'll catch you in the arse one day.
But you're hopefully putting things in place to stop all that happening, or do you still catch yourself thinking, shit, I've fallen down the wormhole? On a personal note, I suffer, you know, with the motivation. Sometimes I do. I work too much. I work 14-hour days, you know, and I do a couple of hours of admin. I'll wake up at between 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'll jump straight on the laptop, do what I need to do, because I always feel like there's going to be a limit. You know, we're sort of still at the bottom somewhere as a business, and we want to build up and build up and build up and build up. And so I always think, there'll be a point where that shit stops. You know, I can wake up at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, go to the gym, go and do what I need to do. My business is running. You know, the lads are healthy, they're fine.
and I'll be able to knock off at 4 o'clock. That's it, done. But everyone I've spoken to who has been doing it for 20, 25 years, they will say the same thing. It's never that. It's never that easy. So, but no, I mean, over the last, since New Year's, I've started to, get back into the gym, get back to looking after myself more, but then also spending time with my family, because they're the ones that are going to suffer. I can have a business worth £1 million. It doesn't mean anything, because if I don't have them people behind us, it doesn't equate to anything. What's the point? You can't share your success on your own, and if you do, I mean, well, you can, but it's not the same.
It's a very lonely journey.
Yeah, exactly. But it's there was like a quote I seen a while ago. Once the party starts, who's there?
Yeah.
And it's so true. You can put all of your energy into this empire you want to build. You want to take over the world. This attitude that some people have, and it's all well and good, but they forget themselves in the process. They forget who they are, who their friends are, who their family are, their loved ones. Relationships will start breaking down. And I've always found that the more energy you put into, if you try and find that nice balance between, yes, my business is important to us, but at the same time I need to make sure that I spend time with my loved ones. Everything works out fine. It's you always got to stay optimistic about things, but there are struggles and there are times when you hit that low spot. But they're always it's a learning curve. That's all it is.
This is it. I always say to a lot of people, they're like, right, do you want to have a successful business? Do you understand what you got to sacrifice to get to that point? And a lot of them are like, well, I'm going to work hard and do this, that, and the other. And I always say to them, so why are you doing this? Why are you setting your business? Why are you doing it? Is it to be successful? Is it to make money? And they're like, well, no, to give me a better work-life balance, or I'm doing it for my family and my kids and all that. I said, how often do you see your kids?
Yeah, exactly.
How often do you see your family? And even I fall into them traps. I could be sat exactly like you say. It could be after o'clock in the evening, and I'm sat now editing stuff, but I'm like. Like, stop. I've not sat down and had dinner with my kids or Lou for weeks and weeks and weeks, because I'm just flat out doing something. And I think to work in this industry, you've got to be made of certain stuff, and I think to run your own business, you've got to be made of certain stuff, and it's having that determination, that drive to push through, and that there's that hustle mentality, which 100% get, but it's learning to control that hustle mentality at the right time when it works for you, so you can have the time off and relax and come back refreshed, because I always feel better when I had time off and I come back like Christmas. I totally shut down. Utterly shut down. I scheduled a couple of posts for over Christmas, but I didn't do anything. I didn't do editing. I didn't take the cameras with me. I didn't take my laptop with me anywhere.
It was a nice refresher, I guess.
It is. And when I came back, my mind was like, bang, I'm full of all these ideas which I've got to do, and I had the determination to go again. Whereas a few years ago I wouldn't have done that. Even on like when I used to run the sites, I never used to take any time off.
Wow.
A lot of that was down to imposter syndrome, because I always thought I was never good enough to do that job and I shouldn't be there. So I was always overcompensating and overthinking everything. But then I just got stuck in this merry-go-round of I need to keep working, I need to keep pushing hard. And my brother used to say to me all the time, he's like, you never stop.
No.
You never stop. And I think maybe because when I was younger, because school for me, it didn't work for me. It really didn't work for me. And I used to get called lazy all the time through school, and you're no good, and you mess about, and you're easily distracted. So when I got into the work environment, because the building industry clicked with me, I always thought, right, I've got to work really, really hard, because I don't want anybody thinking I'm lazy. And sometimes I have to have a word with myself. I'm like, slow down. You don't need to be like this.
It is very easy to have that, imposter syndrome. It's like myself. There's people out there that have been doing this years and years, and on you get this fresh meat come in, and then they're like, "Who's this guy?" And I'm sat there like, "God, who are you?" And I'm like looking up at the gods, like Jesus Christ. But it's again, it's that fine balance. Yes, you need to hustle every single day, but when that clock hits 4 or 5 o'clock, shut off, close that laptop, go and have dinner with your family. I literally as a what do you call them?
A rule for yourself.
As a rule, I'll always work at the minute, especially at the minute, because we're trying to build something up a little bit more. But next month, we even said the next couple of weeks, I'm starting to find this nice little bit of a balance. But as a rule, ever since I started, even before we started doing this, I always have dinner with the little one. Always, never ever don't have dinner with her. I'll never grab the plate and go upstairs in the office or do anything like that. I'll always make sure that she's got everything she needs first before I even look at work.
Yeah.
And I'll always read her a book before bed every single night. Well, I say every night, she's with her mum, but every night she's with us. We'll always go upstairs, and if she doesn't want to read and she just wants to talk, I've got 30 minutes to an hour where she needs to go to bed, but she can talk to us. And I'll always say to her, don't ever feel like you can't come and talk to me. If I'm in that office on a call and you need something, grab me immediately. If I'm at work and you're at school or at your mum's, I'll come and get you. I'll always be there, always. I do know a lot of people who struggle to find that balance, and it's a shame. There isn't many things out there, and all these life coaches and whatnot for business never say that. They'll always say, find a balance, but they never explain how. And that is the find balance, because that's the things that you'll always pick up on. And when you're feeling down on the site, or if you're on top of a roof and it's absolutely pissing it down, they're the little images that pop in your head. And you start remembering why you're doing it. And I think when people say I started doing this because I wanted a better work-life balance, and I wanted a better life for my family and stuff, sometimes I feel like that's what they're on about, but they don't always seem to find that nice transition, which is a bit of a shame, really.
And I think, exactly like you said there, not many people know what it is.
No.
And it is very individual, I think, as well. Like, I'm very guilty of not spending that hour putting the kids to bed. Louise does 90% of the parenting at the minute with us. And I'll think, oh no, I need to go and do something. I'll leave it. But then I'll be sat with the boys, putting them to bed, telling them to shut up because they're all screaming and battering each other. But my mind won't be on the task a lot of the time. I'll be thinking, I need to do this and I need to do that. And I'm very, very guilty of doing that, and I still find myself slipping into that trap very easily. But now I don't beat myself up over it. I realise, right, I need to stop thinking like that. Draw a line in the sand. Let's go again. And reset and go again. But I find that once I start doing that and I start letting all that go, it's not weighing me down thinking you should be better at this and you should be better at I find myself letting all that stuff go. It still gets me sometimes, but then at the same breath, my mindset's in a better place to go, right, keep going, we've got this, we can do this.
It's it's always different for other people. When you start a business, you want to put everything into it, that 110%. And sometimes things are missed off, they're left behind, metaphorically. But once you've got to a certain stage, you sit there and you think, okay, this is going well. Now I can start improving them little things. Because at the end of the day, a business is all well and good. But like you mentioned earlier, without that support, when you go home, who's there?
But have you noticed that the transition between the two? Well, it's not an industry, is it? The military. There's a big crossover, because when I used to work on the bigger sites, I used to deal a lot with ex-military personnel, and they bring a lot of skills over. But they can also bring a lot of problems over, and because they're so used to, like we spoke about before, that you're getting up at this time, you're doing that at this time, your dinner's at this time, and you go to sleep at this time. And people that had never worked in the military have never lived by that lifestyle, and it can be very difficult for you to deal with sometimes, because there's been a few times where there's been quite a few heated discussions with people because, well, no, we're doing it like this. Well, we don't need to do it like that.
Yeah, no. The army teach, well, I guess it's the same for all the forces, but they teach you to be the alpha. And you can imagine being, the way I try and imagine it is, you've got a big pen of wolves, and they'll take you from these little baby wolves all the way up to these adult wolves. You've got to, if someone goes for one of your mates, you're going for him too. The problem is, if you've got 10 alphas in a room and you clash with someone else, it's a shitstorm. You know, especially working on sites and stuff like that. I know a few lads who've been kicked off site because they like things to be done a certain way. You know, and I've learnt myself that the guys who work for me, they're not ex-military. If someone said to me tomorrow, I'm ex-military, I can work for you, I'd be like, come on, straight away. Wouldn't even ask a question. If you had no skills, I'd rather pay you because I know that your attention to detail and everything about you is going to be top notch. I don't need to worry. The only thing I need to worry about, again, is like you mentioned about problems, baggage, unfortunately, that you know, we do bring into places. But having been in an environment that's extremely hostile, it's alpha driven every single time, every single day, you know, you're taught to be this guy who's above everyone else. You're not. And, you know, we don't go around thinking, oh yeah, I'm above you, I'm this, I'm that. You know, there's no silver spoon or anything like that. But it's the mentality that you take with it. So when you go onto a site or, you know, you go onto a job and someone challenges you, it's not going to be pretty. And it is a shame because, you know, most lads you meet who are ex-military, hopefully like myself, you know, we're quite nice people. You know, we can have a chat, have a laugh. We know when things are serious, you know, when we're getting into issues. But all, you know, most importantly, we know how to appreciate and respect one another. But I've lost lads in my own team that have been down to my own issues, my own attitude, and I've lost partners because of my attitude as well. Again, it's something that I'm trying to work on and trying to figure out where it's going wrong, because my leadership skills are a lot different to what you'll find on the site.
So you run your sites a little bit different to how some people are used to?
Yeah, very different, very different. It's all extremely regimented. There's checklists. You know, the lads will come in the morning, and the lads who have worked for us know in the morning the first thing we do is get the sheets out or get the boards down on the drive, protect the drive. There'll always be a checklist, and it's very, very structured, which is a good thing. Some people like that, but there are some people who don't like that approach. You know, they want to be able to think and do themselves. It's like when we have morning calls and stuff, like people, I don't know many people in the trade that have daily huddles or daily calls with all of the guys all in one call. Whereas every single morning we'll have a call at 9, 10 o'clock. We have to know what's going on for the day. They have to know what they're supposed to be doing, even though they know from the week before they've got a task list and stuff. But we will always try and structure things and make it as plain sailing as possible. You know, I take this approach of that people run systems and systems run a business. Which is, you know, an okay approach, but when you're speaking to someone on a face-to-face level and you're trying to understand why a job's gone wrong, you start blaming yourself straight away. You're like, why's my structure not working? You know, I've written SOP for this. Like, you know, why is it not working? But getting back to it, the whole mindset of someone who is ex-military is very different to, you know, your standard mindset, and it's a shame sometimes that you are conditioned to act like that. You're conditioned to be, you know, the best of the best if you want to be at the top. You know, but a lot of people don't like that. They see that as competition. Anytime we used to go out on a night out whilst I was in the army, if we went out to a university town like Bournemouth or anything like that, there would be fights every single time because they absolutely hated us. And, you know, one time I said to this lad, you know, why do you hate us? He's like, oh, because you walk in here like you're something big. And I went, well, for a start, we haven't, because we've literally just got it here for a start. But, you know, people see it as competition. You know, it's like, who can I knock out that's the biggest guy in the room? It's just a mentality, I think.
Yeah, you know? Definitely. Yeah, Lee says a lot about that, because Lee, who we do bits with, he's like 6'5", and as soon as he goes in somewhere, or when he was younger, he used to go out in London and he'd be a target straight away. Yeah,
that happened to me just before Christmas. We went on a night out, you know, a work night out, and some guy tried to start on me, and you know, I said to one of my mates, I was like, you know, why is it every time I go out, someone wants to try and hurt us? I don't get it. And they always say the same thing, oh, because you're massive. I was like, well, You know, I don't want to be.
Yeah.
I want to go and enjoy my night. But, you know, I'll be the first person on the bloody pole, sat there dancing, drinking, you know. It's a completely weird concept.
Waiting for pound notes to go in.
Yeah, honestly, you start throwing me some £10 notes, I'll be happy. So, yeah.
What are your thoughts on these plastic flexi trowels? Everybody seems to be using them all the time.
God, which ones?
Well, I don't know. I just see, like, is it the ox ones like you get, the black ones, and they're massive as well?
Yeah, they are good. I use them quite a lot. The only issue I find is that when you get to, you know, doing like a renovation instead of doing it straight onto board, if you're going over a wall and there's a slight nick in that wall, God's sake, that's it. That's the whole blade gone.
Yeah.
That's it. Replace it straight away. 15, 20 quid gone. You know, it's difficult to carry on using it because you end up getting these weird little lines all the way through your plaster, and it's like just completely ruins it.
I thought when I was younger, I should be able to transfer my skills into plastering, like, because I can. I know it's not the same, but concrete float that up really well.
Yeah.
And benching in drains and inspection chambers and all that. I can do that all really neat in chimney pots. I cannot do plastering.
No.
Do you know what I think it is? I think I don't have the patience and I mess with it too early.
That's the biggest issue. Every single person who we've seen learn how to plaster, you'll always, if you watch like a speeded up video, like a time lapse of someone skimming, you'll see them put them on, you'll see them trial it off, and then you won't see them for about 2 minutes. You're like, where's he gone?
Yeah.
Then you watch someone who's not got experience, and they'll put it on, trial it, and before you know it, you've took every single layer of plaster off, and you're back to the board. A lot of people do struggle with it. I know one guy who we helped teach how to plaster, and he's doing it on his own now.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because he was a good lad. So you pass on the skills. It's like
shot yourself in the foot there.
Yeah, it's almost like teaching them, you know, how to do like damp proofing. You know, we do a fair bit of damp proofing, and it's almost like you want to keep that little thing a secret. You know, you don't want people to know that, but it's not rocket science. You just need to know how things work.
Exactly. But no, Shaun, thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate you sharing everything that you've done with us today. If you don't already, head over. Give Shaun a follow, and you can also follow him on YouTube. I think you're the first person we've had on that's actually got a YouTube channel as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
there we go.
So there you go. I'll link everything in the description below. But as always, thank you very much for listening. Let us know in the comments below if you want us to chat about anything on the next episode. Also, if you haven't, head over to Spotify or Apple Music or Google Podcast. You can give it a listen on there. And other than that, thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. There we go. Breathe now.